You're listening to Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the football podcast, Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar, football from monocles to man buns. I'm Chris Karle and of course Steve Kenton is here. He's back from his travels and we're also joined by our regular guest Geoff Saunders. But first of all, Steve, welcome back to the fold, fella.
Oh, thank you very much, Oscar. I'm pretty sure you've missed me. I can tell, you know, I can just see delight on your face knowing that I am now back.
Yes, yeah, we're delighted to have you, of course. You missed some gentle ribbing of your favourite team, Arsenal, who we're going to come to momentarily. But first of all, they are involved in what I'm about to talk about, or we're about to talk about. The latest transfer news and rumours. I suppose the big news, first of all, is Griezmann.
Yeah, Griezmann apparently has signed for Barcelona.
Finally, yes.
Or maybe he hasn't. The Barcelona lawyer turned up at Spanish FA headquarters with a bag full of 107 million euros, which was his buyout fee, only it might not have been. Atletico Madrid are saying, well, actually, because you agreed the deal with him before the end of June when his buyout fee was cut from 120 to 100 million, no, you actually owe us more money.
Therefore, we don't know actually if he is or he isn't, but I think it's going to go through eventually, just a matter of cash.
Well, it obviously is just a matter of cash, isn't it? Because Atletico Madrid clearly need that 100 or 120 million, or it will probably be 110 by the time they finished, because they've got to pay 113 million for João Felix.
Yeah, well, yeah, by the way. Talking of splashing the cash and making big marquee signing transfers, where's it all going wrong, Steve, at Arsenal? I mean, not only are you not signing anybody, your players are going into hiding. I mean, your club captain refusing to go on tour. That is absolutely scandalous. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a true story now. So I say it's a true story. There's a slight embellishment here and there, but I was on my way back from Baku because, as you know, I left, well, it was about 20 minutes before kick-off, hoping to make it there on time. Arrived 2 weeks later in Baku, and obviously we got it was a very close game, you know, 4-1 hammering. What can I say? Anyway, making my way back from Baku, you know, I was kidnapped by an Azerbaijani beggar. She was selling me into slavery. I was forced to knit yogurt, managed to escape via a shopping trolley. Don't ask. I managed to get back to Malaga Airport, and who's standing there with my name on a board? Stan Kroenke. Stan Kroenke has approached me to go and play for Arsenal on the basis there is nobody else left on the planet who will sign for them.
So basically sold into slavery again then?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. To be honest, I nearly did sign, but I just thought, no, I can't put myself through that.
Yes, so let's talk about your club captain, because obviously something very, very wrong there at the Emirates.
There's been something very, very wrong there for the last several seasons, to be fair. We're losing players hand over fist. We've got no money. He's not supplying any money. He's not even giving Unai Emery any money, any extra money other than 45 to 50 million. So nothing from the profits that Arsenal make, and they are substantial profits. He's getting absolutely nothing. He's not bankrolling the club. Now, this may have some sort of bearing on Koscielny's decision on the basis, well, if we're getting nobody in, what's the point in me staying?
Well, that's a little bit churlish and unprofessional in my opinion on his part. He's the club captain, Geoff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, have you ever heard of a club captain not turning up for the pre-season tour? I mean, there are hints, or his people, if you like, are saying that there's an injury concern, but you still go, don't you? You just don't play. To me, it's an extraordinary thing. The thing you're saying, Steve, about the money, two of the players that Arsenal are reputedly in for are Lucas Vazquez and Mariano Diaz at Real Madrid. Now, I'd never heard of them, and I'll bet that nobody listening to this has ever heard of them. They are Real Madrid squad players. So question number one is, why would Arsenal, who is, you know, Champions League contenders, why would they be wanting players who will never get anywhere near the first team at Real Madrid? Now, what are they doing in the Real Madrid squad? They are there because they count towards the quota for homegrown players for Real Madrid. Now, I wonder how many other clubs there are that have that. These are players we have, they're homegrown, so they count towards our quota, but with no intention of ever playing them. So the question really is, why would a club like Arsenal, a big club, European level club, why are they in for two players like this?
That's a really, really good question. I'm wondering whether Arsenal would be doing the same thing, to be truthful. I mean, if you look at Arsenal's squad, some of the homegrown players shouldn't be anywhere near the first team squad as well. I suspect, like as you rightly said, Geoff, I think all clubs do this. Why Arsenal are going in for those two players, though, is an absolute mystery, unless they can see something that we all can't. But then, little gems do turn up. I mean, who knew about Vieira and Petit before they arrived at Arsenal?
Arsene Wenger did.
And maybe Unai Emery knows something.
Well, possibly. I mean, for me, times have really changed. I mean, the tables have turned. Now when you see in the newspaper, Arsenal and Spurs compete to sign X player, as a Tottenham fan, I give a little laugh going, well, he's ours then. Because Tottenham are obviously in the Champions League and have money. Things have changed, haven't they?
You had to get your dig in early, didn't you? You wait. You just see what happens later on in the show.
Well, oh dear, it's coming.
And what's happened about the offer for Zaha? What's happened with that? That's all gone very quiet.
Yeah. Steve, what happened to Zaha? You were going to sign, big signing for you.
Zaha was overpriced. He's not a player that we need. He really is not a player that we need at Arsenal. Not while we've got the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, etc., etc. Even Özil. Özil's going nowhere. What is the point in having Zaha there? I mean, what is he, 45 million or thereabouts? That's an absolute ridiculous figure for that player. I don't think that player is a particularly great player either, but I mean, you guys may disagree with me.
I very much disagree, yeah. If Wan-Bissaka is worth 45 million, then Zaha is worth the 80 million that Palace want for him.
Yeah, don't forget Palace want 80, Steve, not 45.
and Palace would have been relegated any year in the past 5 years without him.
Yeah, you're right. It was 80 million, not 45. Apologies for the error there. It was my pricing of him.
No, that's Arsenal's pricing of everybody.
But to be fair, I don't think that they're wrong. I don't think he's not. A player is only worth whatever another club will give. But is Zaha really worth 80 million? Come on. Really?
I think the question for Arsenal is Zaha worth 80 million? In my opinion, he is. The question for Arsenal is he 45 million better than Fraser from Bournemouth, who they will go to if they don't get Zaha? And he's not 45 million better than Fraser.
No, I completely agree with you, Geoff. He's definitely not. I like Fraser. I think Fraser's a very, very good player. I think he does an exceptional job. He's functional. And to be honest, he doesn't shirk either. He's a hard-working player. I think Zaha can be quite lazy.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed about that, because if you have your creative player, your Eden Hazard, if you like, then you can sort it out so that someone else does all the defensive work and stuff. The thing about Fraser, though, is he's top three in most of the attacking midfield player league tables. Number of assists, number of key passes, defenders beaten in dribbles, etc. He's up there. He's up there just behind Hazard, and actually well ahead of Zaha.
But bear in mind, we wouldn't be in this position had we managed to keep Ramsey in the first place. This is a problem of Arsenal's own making. To be truthful, I think now they've got to be looking at two different. We're going to talk about Kieran Tierney, aren't we?
Yes.
He's one defender who it looks almost certain that he's coming to Arsenal, but they still need another defender, probably another centre half. Because if Koscielny is out the door, okay, we're losing a 33-year-old centre-back experienced, although Cahill is available on a free.
Well, you talk about Kieran Tierney. Celtic turned down Arsenal's original offer of 15 million because they value him at 25. Now, according to this morning's papers, well, obviously, the facts and the stories vary depending who you read. According to what we've looked at today, they've put in another bid for 25 million, have Arsenal. They're very confident, as Steve is, of signing him. But the lad was supposed to play in a friendly game, but had to pull out due to an injury.
How typically Arsenal is that?
How very Arsenal.
When you do buy someone who's injured.
You do realise that is a prerequisite in any contract. When a player comes to Arsenal, you have to be half crippled. It dates back to the 70s when Malcolm McDonald came to Arsenal. He had a cartilage injury.
There you are. This must be an Arsenal thing. Now that just talking about transfers, and we have got Geoff here who's a West Ham fan. We spoke on the last show about Marko Arnautovic, putting in his second transfer request. He has now gone to China for the culture, or the money. The club, I think, were a little bit cold in their goodbye tweet. They posted on Twitter, they tweeted, as every club does when a player leaves. Their farewell to him was, Arnautovic has left the club, full stop. Normally say, we'd like to thank him for his service and wish him good luck in the future. None of that with West Ham. You're out, gone, by, forgotten.
Yeah, and quite right too. He didn't cover himself with glory, did he? The way he behaved.
No.
So fine, yeah. And good luck to him, and I hope he enjoys the money, and that's fantastic.
Moving on, new era at West Ham. All right, listen, a few things have happened this week apart from these transfers. We're going to come back to a managerial possible change in a moment. But the great Peter Crouch, one time, of course, of Tottenham, Stoke, Portsmouth, don't forget, had a great partnership with Jermaine Defoe. And we just talk about Peter Crouch very briefly, because we'd all like to say goodbye. I mean, he's a bit of a hero for all of us. He's somebody we all look up to. But he's been a great player for all those clubs and for England. Don't forget, he scored some fantastic goals. So quick one-sentence tribute to the great Peter Crouch.
I mean, we loved Crouchinho. He was a great player, absolutely brilliant. Great feat for a big guy, and it will be big shoes to follow. I mean, he scored, in international goals, 22 goals in 42 games. That's a really good return. And he's also, believe it or not, scored the most amount of headed goals in Premier League history. It's really strange with Crouch because, to be honest, he was always criticised for his heading ability. Ironically enough, he was always considered to be better on the ground. And obviously, he had this spectacular knack of scoring from bicycle kicks as well.
Well, yes, we did joke earlier before we came on the air, as it were, that it wasn't so much with him being so tall, bicycle kicks, as penny farthings. However, all the tall jokes to one side, or up and down, whatever. Well done, Peter Crouch. Enjoy your retirement. I'm sure we haven't seen the last of him. And because we are a football podcast, do check out Peter Crouch's podcast, named That Peter Crouch Podcast. Very natural, lots of insightful stories from his career. So check that one out. I'm sure he'll check ours out. Geoff, you got anything to say about Peter?
I think he's always a very underrated player. And I think he was exceptional. I think he would have got more credit had he not been so tall, because people focused on that rather than his skill and his ability.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
He was better than people gave him credit for.
Yes, because he kind of gangly and looked ungainly and so on, where in fact he was a very, very silky and skillful footballer. 38 years old, probably about the right time to retire at Burnley. So well done, Peter Crouch. We shall see you soon. Now then, before we move on, Geoff has got a trivia question. We will announce the answer at the end of the show. The reason we're going to ask this, we have asked it on social media. We've asked you not to post the answers. The question coming up now, the answer at the end. Geoff?
Yeah, it was on our Facebook page earlier in the week. Okay, on the first day of the 1975-76 season, Jerry Francis scored for QPR against Liverpool. Why is that goal famous and unique?
All right, so Jerry Francis scoring against Liverpool, opening day of the season. What's so special about that goal? In other news, away French midfielder Paul Pogba, who we all know, according to the papers, wants to leave Manchester United. Solskjaer is trying to keep him there by offering him the captaincy. Now, Geoff, for me, he's many things, good and bad, but he's not a captain. He's not a leader of men, is he?
Absolutely not. No.
People, I should say.
Well, but no, indeed. I mean, he's a very good midfield player. He's not worth 90 million, and if his agent can go out and get him a fantastic deal with someone else, well, good luck to him. But crawling to him, please stay, please be our captain. We'll make you our captain if you stay. Is ridiculous.
It is, but, Steve, what do you reckon?
Solskjaer can count himself really lucky. Unai Emery's gone crawling to Mustafi to make him captain and keep him at Arsenal. Everybody else is leaving. Mustafi's going to be the only one left there. Yeah.
Mustafi was the one player you wanted to leave.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, things have really gone a little bit Pete Tong, haven't they, at Arsenal? Things have gone down. I mean, everybody was Wenger out, but now everybody's leaving. Well, never mind just Wenger.
Oh, here's an interesting stat. Now, we haven't won the league since 2005, so 14 years. It will be 15 years, to be honest. I mean, that is the second longest period in our history where we've gone between winning a title, believe it or not.
Well, you know a little bit about the Arsenal history, being an Arsenal fan, bless you. But I
don't know why you're smiling there.
You have got a couple of facts for us about where they came from and where they went to Arsenal and
where we're going to end up going as well.
Yeah, where they're going. Yeah,
yeah.
Do tell us, Steve, all about Arsenal.
I can see the excitement in your face, Chris. I mean, bearing in mind, folks, Chris is a Spurs supporter. Geoff is a West Ham supporter. I know I'm going to take stick at the end of this.
You are?
Yes. no change there. Anyway, as you guys are probably aware, and probably just about everybody else listening, Arsenal were formed as Dial Square in October 1886, changed their name a month later to Royal Arsenal because obviously, we have regal connections, and if you believe that, I'll tell you another fairy story. Became Woolwich Arsenal in 1893 and then became the Arsenal in 1913, dropping the word "the" a few years later. Now, if that hasn't sent you to sleep already, the club has won 13 titles. Now, that's not bad going. That makes us the third in English history, behind Man United and Liverpool. I noticed Spurs aren't really even in the top 10, are they, Chris?
This is history, though, isn't it? So.
Yeah, this is history. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're going to be doing Spurs history next time, and it will be the quietest 3 minutes you've ever not heard. Anyway, moving on. Arsenal have won 13 FA Cups, so that's a bit of a record there. 2 League Cups, 15 Community Shields. They don't count as a trophy. Let's be honest.
No. So just talk me through it again. Just this one little point as a Tottenham fan, and I think Geoff will join me on this. Arsenal started out in Plumstead in Kent, then they moved to Woolwich, and then they went to North London, didn't they? That is correct?
Yeah, well, see, what it was, they came from gypsy stock, so they like to move around.
Hence their nickname as the Woolwich Wanderers.
Yes, the Wanderers.
Called the Woolwich Wanderers by at least 2 people, and they're both in this room right now.
Yeah, no.
One of whose club was formed on marshland.
This is true, and we've been thinking ever since. However, you were in Plumstead, Woolwich, North London, and next season the Championship.
If you've ever... Well, no, I'm not going to make this next joke because I'm going to get myself shot otherwise.
Do it.
No, only because you don't want me doing the Tottenham history next time. But no, we've won the double 3 times, as you well know. Went a record 49 games unbeaten. No, that record there, 49 games unbeaten. Man City haven't achieved that or managed to buy their way to that record yet.
That is true. They almost did it in recent times. So that's your Arsenal. Any Arsenal fans listening in, if that hasn't put you off, I don't know what will.
There is one more point I'd like to make here to my Spurs and West Ham supporting colleagues. Arsenal, according to Sport Market, have an estimated worldwide fan base of, wait for it, 113 million people.
But this is estimated by the same people who estimate the amount of the crowd at the Emirates as well.
Yeah.
Estimated by the same people.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Actually, it's 38, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and they're all pretty quiet, to be fair.
Yes. All right, that's your Arsenal for you. We'll have Spurs possibly next time out.
God, I hope not.
Now then, guys, we've discussed this off air, but we are going to risk it. We're going to have, as we do on this show, combined 16s. We've had Tottenham and Arsenal combined 16 since 1975, because that's as far back as any of us can remember. We're going to look at an all-time Netherlands team. Now, I know that Steve and Geoff, few contentious opinions on this one. I think there's a couple of players that you don't agree with. We're going to start, though, Steve, with the goalkeeper. Just explain exactly what we're going to be doing.
We're going to be having a row, no doubt. We're just going to look at the best 16 players, or the most functional 16 players that we can assemble since 1975 that would make up what we think would be potentially a world-beating Netherlands side, or any other side, as we go obviously through various shows. So in goal, we've got Van Beveren, we've got Youngblood, we've got Van der Sar, Westerveld, or De Goey, for example. I know you and I have discussed off air in the past, Geoff, about Van der Sar being the top Dutch keeper.
Van der Sar is the best, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go along with that. Although Van Beveren was a brilliant keeper.
Yeah, but Van der Sar was the best.
Yeah. Okay, but that's on what basis is he the best?
Oh, he was. I think he was an excellent goalkeeper. He was a great shot stopper. Was dominant in his penalty area. He made very, very few mistakes. His defenders trusted him. He was their best goalkeeper.
I can't argue with that, really. I was looking at Jan Youngblood. I mean, Jan Youngblood appeared at 2 World Cups, but he was probably the weak link, to be fair, in both of those Dutch squads. Although he was a superb sweeper keeper.
Yeah, but it's good. The Netherlands are kind of like Brazil in that respect. That the guy who goes in goal was the worst outfield player. It's not something that they were famous for, was it?
Yeah, that's true. But Youngblood wasn't the worst outfield player the Dutch had. He was a really, really skillful player for a goalkeeper.
Well, yeah, I'd stick with Van der Sar. You can have Youngblood on the bench if you want.
We go with Van der Sar. I think you're absolutely right. Defenders, I mean, Rudy Krol's got to be first on the list.
Rudy Krol, Koeman, that's your centre-backs.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Crikey, we're agreeing on something here, Geoff. This is unusual.
Reitziger, full-back.
Reiziger. Really? You wouldn't go with De Boer?
It's a good shout. I'm not massively keen on Reiziger. If you make case for someone else, I'll give in. I do like Van Bronckhorst at left back though.
Yeah, I got to say I didn't really consider Van Bronckhorst, but he was a bit of an unsung hero, really.
Very much so, yeah.
You know, he was great for Arsenal.
Well, when Barcelona won the league and their first European Cup, was it?
Yeah.
He played in every single game.
Yeah.
That season. He's a brilliant player.
But then we've got players such as, for fullbacks, we've got Serbia and Janssen, both played at fullback.
Yeah, both very good shouts.
I always thought Serbia was one of the best attacking fullbacks in the world at the time.
Yeah.
So I
have him instead of Reiziger then.
Okay, so we go with Serbia and what? De Boer or Van Bronckhorst?
I go for Van Bronckhorst.
Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, we can do that. I think that's a pretty good shout. Okay, across the midfield. Naiskins. Yeah, every time. I mean, what are we going to go with here? 4-3-3 or
4-3-3.
4-3-3. So okay, Naiskins, Van Hanegem.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If anyone listening has never heard of Van Hanegem, go and look him up.
Yeah.
Just the most brilliant left-footed midfield player.
He's completely one-footed, wasn't he?
Completely.
And I'm going to go with Willy van der Kerkhoff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think you should go with him. You should go a long way away from the football stadium.
But you need somebody who can win the ball.
That's what Naiskins does.
Yeah, no, but Naiskins was so much more skillful than van der Kerkhoff on the ball.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Actually,
so was my granny.
Oh, come off it.
My granny's very good at football. Yeah, don't
What position did she
granny.
play?
She played outside right, and she was much better than Willy van der Kerkhoff or his brother René.
Oh, I'll give you René, but Willow was a decent player.
Yeah, he's a decent player, but he shouldn't be in the best Dutch side ever.
Oh, I disagree with that.
There's so many good players. Rensenbrink?
Yeah, now I've got Rensenbrink as a as an attacker though.
Yeah, wide attacker. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm sorry, I'm calling Van der Kerkhoff on this one.
I don't know. He's better. You reckon he's better than Davids or Seedorf?
Yes.
Koku?
Yeah.
Really?
I'll tell you what. Let's reserve judgment on him for now.
Okay.
Right, moving forward. Let's go to forwards. Cruyff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Van Basten.
Yeah. Which leaves one other space now.
No, because we had Rensenbrink wide forward.
That leaves no other space.
No other space.
But then we're going to be putting Bergkamp on the bench. Then you know that.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Right. And we're leaving out René van der Kerkhoff, Ruud Geels, Willy van der Kuylen and Pat Kluivert.
And Ruud Gullit.
Oh, do you know what? I never rated Ruud Gullit as highly not as highly as some of these players we've mentioned.
No.
He was a great player, but I don't think he was, he wasn't in the same ballpark as the likes of Bergkamp, Rensenbrink, Van Basten and Cruyff. No way.
He wasn't in the same league as Naiskins, Van Basten and Cruyff, no. But in the league, the level immediately below, yeah, he definitely was.
What are we going to do about Willy van der Kerkhoff? Are we going to have him in there, or are we going to go?
He can drive the coach.
What about Aaron Winter?
No, not in this.
You want Gullit?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then Gullit's got to drop back into midfield, doesn't he? So he plays left for him.
No. I think Gullit should be on the bench in this team where you're saying the very best, the 11 best Dutch players ever. Gullit is not in that team.
Right. So
he's on the bench though.
So in that case, you've either got Van der Kerkhoff, David, Hahn.
He won the European Cup 3 times. Great player, Hahn.
Yeah, I've got to say, Harry Hahn was a brilliant player.
Yeah, he's got to go in.
Okay,
yeah.
So
especially as we got Kroll at the back because they did play so well together.
Yeah, they did actually, and yeah, no, I completely agree. So starting Serbia,
yeah,
Van Bronckhorst, surprisingly, Kroll and Koeman at the back, 3 across the midfield being Harry Hahn, Johan Naiskins and Wim van Hanegem.
Yeah,
up front, Cruyff, Van Basten and Rensenbrink. They pick themselves.
They do.
And then I suppose on the bench, maybe Van Beveren, De Boer, Van der Kerkhoff, Robben,
yeah, definitely on the bench.
I am Robin. And possibly Willy van der Kuylen.
I'll take your word for it.
He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant striker. He retired from international football far too early as well.
Well, lots of them did.
So there we go. That's it.
Okay.
So shall we read it out?
So read out the team for us there. What have you got there?
Okay.
For us?
In goal, Van der Sar. Fullbacks of Serbia and Van Bronckhorst. Centre halves of Kroll and Koeman. Across the midfield, Harry Hahn, Johan Naiskins and Wim van Hanegem. Up front, Johan Cruyff, Marco van Basten and Robbie Rensenbrink. While on the bench, we've got Jan van Beveren, we've got De Boer, we have Robben, we have Gullit, and we have Willy van der Kuylen.
Fantastic. And if you think, well, that is our Netherlands combined 16. If you think you can do better, we'd be inclined to agree with you. Right, let's move on. Since the
Who
last
paid you for that joke?
well, I certainly didn't pay for it. Listen, since the last time we released an episode of Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar, there's been a World Cup final, what is known as the Women's World Cup, an absolutely fantastic tournament. We spoke about it in the last episode. Jeff and I, Steve sadly wasn't here, but what a great tournament. USA runaway winners, deservedly so, far better than their men's team. Brilliant, and although paid 75% less than the men, but that's another issue.
To be fair, Jeff's granny on her own is better than the USA men's team.
Yeah, they're not great, but that is a story for another day. But the story here, of course, is just how brilliant the USA were. 4 times world champions now. Brilliant sports people, great ambassadors for the country. It's been a fascinating tournament. In the UK alone, 12 million people tuned in to watch the semi-finals. The semi-finals. I don't have the statistics for the game on the Sunday, the World Cup final, but it was many more than that. An absolute record for a sporting event on British TV. So well done to all the women who took part. Full stadiums, great level of football, and more power to them, I say, because I think it's brilliant for sport in general. Your impressions, guys?
Women's World Cup. USA, now I could be wrong, and you might want to correct me on this, Jeff, but I think soccer or football in the US is the top sport played by women anyway, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can expect them to be a really good level anyway, and they are. I mean, it was a great tournament. It was a good advert for football, actually.
Yes. It was. Chris and I watched some of the matches in our bar in El Soccer, and the quality of the football was really, really good. There was a point where you stopped thinking about it being a women's football match. It was just a football match, and it was really good.
Do you think, and it's not a criticism, it's just an observation, do you think if the pitches were maybe slightly narrower, it would have made an even better spectacle than what it was?
I think the pitches should be narrower and not quite as long.
But
for exactly the same reason, if you watch youth football on a full-size football pitch, you get exactly the same feeling. There's just too much space there.
Yeah.
And it's the compression that makes it such an interesting game. And you watch a Premier League match or a men's international match, and everything is more compressed.
Yeah.
The defence compresses the width to half the width of the pitch, and it's your ability to control and react in that small amount of space that makes it so good.
I have a question. Combining women's football and men's football, so you can't obviously have an equal number, but say 6 of one particular gender, 5 of another. Could that ever happen, and could that ever work?
Well, I mean, it could happen if someone's going to make it happen, and the key to it, someone making it happen, is going to be having enough money to do it. I mean, we live in a commercial world. It'll happen if there's money to be made by someone.
I mean, to be honest with you, half those USA players I'd take at Arsenal all day long.
Well, yeah, they're probably better than those Vasquez and Diaz from the bench at Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. Mustafi at Arsenal, who's already there.
Yeah, there was also I think it was Walker, a winger for the England team, who I'd have definitely had at Tottenham. So a lot of talent on display, a great advert for women's football and for the sport in general. I think I agree with what you guys said. It wasn't watching women's football, it was watching football in the end, and that makes it important. Megan Rapinoe, of course, the captain, top scorer, golden boot, golden goal, become a bit of a celebrity. Love what she's saying in public. Think she's a great advert for the game. Check her out on Twitter and all that.
A really good role model.
Absolutely.
Role model.
Absolutely, yeah. So, check out Megan Rapinoe. She's got a lot to say, and she's a brilliant sports person as well. So, well done. I don't like the way they call it the Ladies' World Cup or Ladies' Football. You don't call it the Gentlemen's World Cup. Well, in that case, hardly any of them would be allowed to go, would they? People like Diego Costa would be banned. Talking of which, there is rumours, Jeff, that he's going to West Ham.
Well, there are also rumours that he's going to Everton. So I think his agent's being very productive there for him. I'd like him to go to West Ham, and he's one of these players that you hate if he's playing against you, and centre-backs hate him, and that's why I'd like him to come. I love centre-forwards who the first thing they do on the pitch is they go up and they barge into the central defender and just nudge him and needle him and say, right, you follow me around, because that creates space for the others. And I think he'll score 20 goals. in the Premier League season. So every team should want him.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Geoff. Now then, we're fast running out of time here, guys, but let's just move on to another couple of issues. First of all, Steve Bruce is in the running. By the time you're listening to this, there in the future, you might know. But Steve Bruce is in the running, according to the papers, to get the Newcastle job, Newcastle United job, vacated by Rafa Benitez, who's gone to China. Again, for the culture. This is not a statement of intent from Mike Ashley, unless the intent is not to do well. With all due respect to Steve Bruce, Rafa Benitez to Steve Bruce, old school a little bit, not a step up, or is it?
No, it's not a step up at all. I mean, Rafa Benitez is one of the, one of the top managers, coaches in European football, no question. And Steve Bruce, well, isn't.
It's funny when we talk about managers and bygone eras, because it's only maybe 6 or 7 years ago we were lauding Steve Bruce as being a really, really decent manager, and he is a decent manager. Let's not be unfair. Let's not be unfair about him. He is a decent manager, but he's of a certain era now, and we've moved forward from that.
Indeed.
In the same way Sam Allardyce did a particular job, did a very, very good job. It's funny that we look at these managers now that are still around, but are just not able to cope with the evolving game.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Sam Allardyce, but in the papers this week he was saying that he had been sort of approached on a would you be interested basis for the Newcastle job, and he said no, I wouldn't. So it's quite clear that Ashley's thinking is backwards.
Yeah. So what is the level of Newcastle's ambition here? Because they joke around here. They are a well supported big club in the northeast. They've got a lovely history, great history. They've got great fans. They deserve better than what they're getting. And Mike Ashley is certainly not delivering, in my opinion, as a chairman. I think he's playing games a little bit here with Newcastle. Or maybe that's being unfair on Mike Ashley. But
no, I don't think it's being unfair on Mike Ashley. But I've said this before on the radio show. I've said it here on the podcast before. The owners are not interested in winning things anymore. The owners are interested in making profit. The only thing that interests Mike Ashley is that he stays in the Premier League, where the big money is. Winning it is irrelevant. The cost of winning it is too high.
Absolutely. So listen, we're going to have a little look, see what happens to Newcastle. They are one of my tips to go down this season. You mentioned, Steve, that they got some great players. I presume you're referring to the past rather than the present squad.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, I mean, they're currently not looking like a great team. Where do you think, before we wrap up the show, you weren't here last week, we talked about Newcastle, we talked about what Geoff calls the Everton Cup or the Vase. Arsenal are a contender for that, aren't they? Along with Man United, Wolves, possibly Leicester.
Yeah.
And possibly even West Ham, because they're not going to get into the top 4, or are they? Steve, wrap it up.
No, they're not. I think they're going to struggle for top 6, let alone top 4. I really think, and I love my Arsenal, but we have to be realistic here. They're looking at, I reckon, possibly 6th or 7th place this season. Yeah. I can't. They might get to Europa League final.
Yes.
Potentially. I think that's a possibility.
It is. Again, well, look what happened last time. All right. They did it once, they can do it again. Before we go, a couple of items. First of all, Geoff asked, Geoff Saunders, West Ham fan here on Karle and Kenners podcast, asked a trivia question at the top of the show. Let's see the question and the answer this time.
Right, okay. On the opening day of the 1975-76 season, Jerry Francis scored for Queen's Park Rangers in their 2-0 victory against Liverpool. Why was that goal special, was the question.
All right, so what is the answer?
It won goal of the season.
There we are. Scored on the opening day of the season, 38 games later, 9 months later, that goal was goal of the season.
42 games later.
Oh, 42 games in those days, yeah. Whatever it was, 40-odd other games were
back
played.
in the days when footballers really had to work.
Absolutely. So there we are. Before we go, sad news did reach us this week about the passing of Vinnie Jones, ex-footballer. His wife passed this week, Steve. Just a few details about that.
Yeah, sad loss. I mean, she had a heart transplant at 21 years old and had 2 bouts of cancer, 2 different forms of cancer, actually. So we'd just like to pay tribute on the show to Tanya Jones. It's a very sad loss, and we wish Vinnie and his family all the very best.
Absolutely, Vinnie, to you and your family, lots of love from us here. That is all we have time for. This has been yet another edition of Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar. Football from monocles to man buns. Thank you to Steve Kenton.
Thank you, boss.
And thank you to Geoff Saunders.
You're welcome, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Catch us next time. I'm Chris Karle. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar.